Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue. Today, I'm at Riverton Country Club in Cinnaminson, New Jersey. Riverton Country Club began over 100 years ago, right around the turn of the century. The locals started with a 9-hole golf course. Then about 15 years later, they hired the renowned golf course architect Donald Ross, and he laid out an 18-hole championship golf course. Last year, Ron Pritchard, who's known for restoring Donald Ross courses, was brought on to do just that here at Riverton. So coming up today, we're going to meet Ron Pritchard, see what he's done and is continuing to do to restore the Ross design at Riverton. The head pro, Kevin Duffy, will kind of share some of the idiosyncrasies that are available to members here at Riverton, and we'll also take a look at some of the non-golf activities at this historic club. Riverton Country Club coming up next, right here on Inside Golf.
Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. 54 courses, 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By the First Tee of Philadelphia. The First Tee helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit thefirsttphiladelphia.org. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia, GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man Magazine, it's a Jersey way of life. And by Philly Man Magazine, bringing it to Broad Street. By the Haverford Trust Company, quality is in our DNA. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia Section PGA, experts in the game and business of golf. Take time to thank your local PGA golf professional.
When I got back from the Gulf War, I was afraid to leave my house for 5 years. Clearview Hope and Renee Powell saved my life.
When I started Clearview Hope, I wanted to do all that I could to help our nation's women military veterans.
Renee, with golf, you have empowered all of us, and we just cannot thank you enough.
The best stories end in thanks. Share your story at ThanksPGAPro.com.
Welcome back to Inside Golf here at the Riverton Country Club. And our guest is the man who has been working on restoring this Donald Ross design at Riverton, Mr. Ron Pritchard. Ron, thanks for joining us today in the midst of another big project. Actually, Ron, a 100th anniversary of Riverton, 2017, when you began this project. But you were here a few years back to tinker as well, right?
Right. I opened an office here on the East Coast in 1990 because Riverton retained me to do restoration work on the golf course.
Right, and you're known as a Ross restoration architect. So here we are, another Ross course in the Philadelphia area. When you look back, the obvious question is, where do you find your materials to restore to what Ross built here back in 1917?
Right. We really go to two places. One is the Gibbons Memorial Library down in Pinehurst, right? You know, the little village of Pinehurst, and they have the Tufts archives where most of Ross's available drawings we can locate there, and then a lot of it's from early aerial photography. It's interestingly the Soil Conservation Service flew massive flight lines, like for example all the way up the coast of Lake Michigan in Chicago, where there may be a string of 30 golf courses there. You can find all of them way back into 1929 and 1928 and 1930. So
when you come to a course like this, what has been the biggest change over 100 years to this golf course? Was it the amount of trees, for instance, the shape of the fairways, wider, narrower, green size? What are some of the things that automatically hit your eye and say, oh, look what's happened?
Right. Well, almost everything has been altered to some degree, some by nature and some by intent. But the planting of trees is particularly egregious, really, because on earlier Ross courses, you'll find his fairways were 50 and 60 yards wide. So we're talking 150 to 180 feet. But when people had planted all the trees on the golf course, they forced us to play a much narrower golf course. So that's a big item. It's not from an architectural standpoint, it's certainly not a difficult item to deal with, because we, and today we're particularly aggressive about it, is adding more fairway space, which is a delight to the average player.
How about when it comes to bunkering? What have been some of the things that you've done here at Riverton that have maybe changed over 100 years from when Ross initially designed a golf course?
Well, in some places, positioning of bunkers has changed, has been altered, and we don't know quite why.
So like the sand was filled in and it became a grass bunker rather than a sand bunker?
Or just filled in right back to grade.
Okay.
When A.W. Tillinghouse during the Depression years was employed, going around the East Coast and where the predominant golf areas, even in the Chicago area, and eliminating a lot of bunkering on old golf courses, primarily because of the financial issues.
Okay, and specifically here, from looking around my short visit so far here at Riverton today, I noticed like the facing, and then the flat base in the actual sand. Right. That is basically a Ross caricature?
The base is actually somewhat concave. I mean, some of that's for drainage purposes, but when the bunkers are really finished and maintained properly, there'll be a concavity to it with sort of a coped area right at the base of the greenside shoulder, so that when a ball bounces off the shoulder, it gets fed away from that steep face. Mm-hmm. But the bunker shoulders are pretty well identified by Ross on all of his field sketches. So we don't really I don't try to create something new. I do a lot of individual field sketches for the help of the shaper, who was a young fellow named Tyler Ray, who worked for me. But we really take Ross as the architect.
What about greens, contour? Did you have to do much work in terms of changing the contours or expanding the overall size of the putting surfaces? I try not to tamper with the topography of the putting surface, but we certainly recapture some of the corners, for example, that over years have just been shrunk down. Just cutting practices and things like that.
Really, in World War II, the story I hear is that a lot of golf courses really reduced the size of the putting surfaces, again because of the finances. Yeah. And so some of that has lasted over the years. But when you walk onto a lot of Ross's golf courses that haven't been taken care of, you'll find a perfectly circular green.
Final question for you. We're standing here at number 17 tee, looking out at a dogleg uphill hole. If Donald Ross was with us, would he say, Ron, this is exactly what I had in mind?
I hope so, but I think he would. I think he would. And really, we struggled on this hole to do what we had good drawings, but it was a matter of taking down quite a few pine trees on the inside of the dogleg and reestablishing that stack of 3 bunkers that you see out there now. All of that was laid out by Ross. So what we're trying to do is replicate his intentions as precisely as possible.
Good luck. The project will be completed next year, 2019.
We hope so.
Pleasure to see you, and
my pleasure.
I'll come back to Inside Golf.
I will. Thank you. I'd like to be there more often.
All right. Thanks, Ron. We'll be back at Riverton. More of Inside Golf coming up in just a moment.
Just because it was not surrounded by trees anymore. It felt like they had elevated the green 20 or 30 feet higher up in the air.
Everyone is looking for something. Consistency. Quality. Peace of mind. Found. The Haverford Trust Company.
As long as there is fear, as long as there is curiosity, as long as there are undiscovered corners of the earth, and as long as there is willingness and desire, then you are capable of more. The BMW Championship is coming to Philadelphia September 2018. The top 70 PGA Tour players will be there. Will you?
Welcome back. Inside Golf continues here at Riverton Country Club in, well, I guess you'd call it Cinnaminson, New Jersey. Kevin Duffy, he's going to answer that question for me. Kevin has been the head pro here for a few years, formerly from the other side of the river, but now you call Riverton home. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Good to see you here.
Thanks for having us. This is actually, what, Cinnaminson, Riverton, and Palmyra, where they all come together.
So Riverton Country Club is actually part in Cinnaminson, part in Riverton. The clubhouse used to be over in Riverton. And then Riverton's a dry town, so they found a way to move it over to Cinnaminson in the late 50s, and
that's the 19th
built
hole,
our great
right?
clubhouse here. So
okay, let's talk a little bit about. We pick up on what Ron Pritchard had to say a little bit earlier, Kevin, from his perspective, what he's trying to do, from your perspective, and probably from the perspective of your members. The 7 holes that have been restored in time for this golf season. What hits the eye, your eye, their eye, when they see what's happened?
I mean, the biggest changes that Tyler and Ron were able to do out here, it was really primarily a bunker restoration. So a lot of the bunkers over the years had been filled in. They had shrunk. They kind of changed shapes. So the bonus of doing the bunker restoration is, you know, replacing all the sand, replacing the drainage, and then kind of bringing them back to the original Ross look of a little bit more of a flat bottom with some grass flashed up on the face as opposed to sand flashed up on the face. The second thing that you're going to notice out here when you come play is the tree removal. So we started to, you know, on the holes where we're restoring, thinning out some of the trees that shouldn't be there or were unhealthy, and just to really open up some beautiful vistas.
Yeah, it does open it up, and from other courses that I've been to, and let's face it, a number of courses, not just in the Philadelphia area, but around the country are doing this, because over time, trees that or maybe twigs have taken over a section of the golf course. A lot of people say, well, I like walking a tree-lined course because I feel like each hole is an entity within itself. But then when you come and see what they've done with tree removal, and Riverton, I guess, is an example of that, when you see overall what it really was like 100 years ago for Donald Ross, it's a whole different look.
Well, so many of these properties were farms. I mean, this was an old peach farm back in the day. There weren't any of these big trees that are here today. They've just kind of been planted over the years, and you know, so to start to bring it back to that look, I think when you stand up on, you know, hole number 3 is somewhere that I always kind of, the first time I stood up there and looked at this beautiful new vista that had opened up, just because it was not surrounded by trees anymore. It felt like they had elevated the green 20 or 30 feet higher up in the air. So it really just changes the views out there, and it's awesome.
You know, talk about playability here at Riverton. This acreage-wise is only, what, 108 acres?
108 acres, yeah.
Normally it's like at least 120 or more, and with some of these newer courses, they have all the ground to work with, and you may walk a quarter of a mile from green to the next tee. That's not the case here.
No, I mean, we're very close tee to green. I think one of the things that the members love about Riverton the most is our fast pace of play. You know, you can motor around this golf course, you know, relatively quick almost every day. It's a very walkable course. And one of the things that Ross was most known for was masterfully laying out 18 holes as good as he could with the land that he had. So, you know, back in 1916, they weren't moving a lot of earth.
They had horses, and if they were using a horse and buggy to do it. How about personally for you? What's your favorite hole here?
So my favorite hole has always been the 15th hole, and it's one of the holes that we were able to restore this year. In the restoration process, we found 3 new bunkers that used to be there. They were there on the original plans. They had all been eliminated over the years, and so in adding in these new bunkers, it's really it forces you to play better golf shots. You used to kind of be able to get away with missing an iron from the fairway now, and so really now the 15th hole with those 3 new bunkers, it forces you to play a couple of good golf shots to get to that par 4.
So all these changes, it's made you a better player?
Absolutely has.
And that's the important thing. Kevin, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Harry. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. You know, we talked about the golf course with Kevin and with Ron, but there's a lot more to Riverton Country Club than just 18 holes of golf. All right, to find out everything about Riverton away from the golf course, we're going to be helped out by Elena Patch, who is Director of Marketing and Communications and Membership. You got a lot of titles. Tell us in the roughly couple minutes we have here, Elena, what else goes on here at Riverton that members just love?
Sure. So, I mean, you guys got to look at the beautiful golf course and the restoration that we've got going on. But there's a lot more to Riverton Country Club. So we have a pool, we have tennis courts, we have a beautiful clubhouse, of course. And one of the things that really differentiates us from some of the other clubs in the area is that we have a bowling alley.
A bowling alley?
Yeah. So
and it's not a new addition, right? It's been around a while.
Yeah, so the bowling alley was actually built in 1905, and it was part of what's believed to be the original clubhouse. And you can find it, it's also our halfway house as well. So it's
How many lanes
it's a
are
fun
there?
time. It's 4 lanes, it's automated, but you do
Members use it a lot?
They do, they use it a lot. Just, you know, to go play with their family, or they rent it for birthday parties or special occasions.
So there you go. Riverton, probably the only country club, golf course club that I know that has its own bowling alley, and it's 105 years old. Is it big? I get the sense, and they're not here today necessarily, but this would be a real attractive spot for families.
Yes,
because of everything you have.
Yes, that's definitely true. We have a lot of families that are members here, a lot of young families coming in with young kids. We try to do a lot of events for kids. We have junior programs for pretty much every sport that we have here. So we have junior tennis, junior golf, we have a swim team, swim lessons. So it's really a great place for kids and for young families.
Something else,
yes.
Proximity to not just other South Jersey communities, but across the river.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that we're here. We're a little bit of a hidden gem here in South Jersey, and we're just about 15 minutes from Center City, Philadelphia. So we pull our members from all different areas, obviously in South Jersey, but from Philadelphia as well. It's very easy to get here.
Yeah, most people would not, you know, when they think of Riverton, New Jersey, but yeah, just right over the river, minutes away.
Exactly.
For more things on Riverton, what's the website people can go to?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to learn more about Riverton Country Club, they can visit us at rivertoncc.com.
Elena, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great season.
Thank you.
And stay with us. Teed Off coming up next right here
Things
on
like
Inside
this,
Golf.
moving forward are just really good for the game, period. And having a venue like Augusta to step up and do something like that is off the chart.
Welcome back. Inside Golf now continues with Teed Off, and our panel today is at the Bluebell Inn in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, where they say you should indulge yourself in style, right here at Montgomery County's #1 dining venue. And joining us today here at the Bluebell Inn for Teed Off, from the Philadelphia section, PGA of America Executive Director Jeff Surratt. Good to see you again, Jeff.
Good to see you, Harry. Thanks
Chris
for having
Gardner is the professional, the head pro, right down the road at the Bluestone Country Club.
Yes, sir.
What, second year now?
This is number 3.
Number 3.
Yes, sir.
Boy, you look like you're just coming out of high school,
I
Chris.
appreciate that.
Thanks for joining us. And Quinn Spitzer is the president, Golf Association of Philadelphia, and a member at Huntington Valley Country Club. Jeff, Fred Ridley, who is the Augusta chairman, made an announcement during Masters Week about another pretty big event that they're going to be holding next year, and it's going to be a women's amateur championship. They're going to have 3 rounds, but the final round is going to be played the Sunday before the Masters at Augusta National. That is quite a breakthrough, and we've seen a lot of things happen there over the past few years, and this is another example of how, I guess, Augusta, first under Billy Payne and now Fred Ridley, is kind of being a trailblazer when it comes to announcements like this.
It really is. You know, you can even roll it back to when they announced the PGA, the USGA, and Augusta National reinvigorated the drive, chip, and putt. You know, so you know, when you look at what the leaders in the golf industry are doing, it's, you know, trying to bring more people into the game, trying to bring more attention to the game for everyone. So things like this moving forward are just really good for the game, period. And having a venue like Augusta to step up and do something like that is off the charts.
Yeah, you know, it's not that long ago, Quinn, we can remember when there were demonstrations planned outside on Washington Road, outside the gates of Augusta National, because they didn't have female members. Augusta National's come a long way in a pretty short period of time.
Well, you know, they had that real delicate balance between tradition and the future of the game. And when you go to Augusta, they will tell you, we don't have any rules here, we just have traditions. Interesting. But one of the things that's happened is you have somebody like Fred Ridley, who came as president of the USGA Executive Committee. And having come from that background, he recognized that Augusta had an important role to play in advancing the game. And all of us here at this table recognize you can't advance the game of golf unless you do something to improve the junior experience, to bring more juniors into the game, and you need to bring more women into the game. First, Billy Payne in the junior program, and now Fred Ridley in the women's program, recognizes that Augusta can keep its traditions, but it does have an obligation to make a contribution to the game of the golf and growing the game of golf, and this is an outstanding example of how to do that.
Yeah. Do you think any other clubs now are sitting around, clubs of, you know, some iconic nature, name, whatever, tradition, and just saying, gee, why didn't we think of that? And maybe it's time that they come up with a similar idea, not the same thing maybe, but to sort of match what Fred Ripley has done down at Augusta.
I don't know if clubs are looking at that, but I think all of the players in the golf industry are looking at that. Bringing more attention to women in the game. You look at the job that Michael Wan's done with the LPGA and bringing that into this century and the attention that he's brought. Then the PGA teamed up with the LPGA for the Women's KPMG PGA Championship that's going to be hosted at Aronimink in 2020. So you look at what all of the leaders in the golf industry are doing, bringing attention to, as Quinn was saying, juniors and women, and really bringing the game forward.
Yeah, it's going to definitely do that. And, you mentioned earlier about the drive, chip, and putt. That has been a real success, I think. What was it now? In its 5th year, it's hard to believe.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, do you see little kids, have you had young kids come up to you and say, hey, how do I get involved in something like that?
Yeah, that's exciting too. I think I know for sure as a junior golfer, how many times did I imagine making a putt on the 18th green at Augusta National to win the Masters, or at least, and now kids actually get to witness that. It becomes reality, and maybe that was just young boys at one time imagining winning the Masters at Augusta National on the 18th, but now it's everybody. And you're going to have young girls thinking about winning a tournament now at Augusta National's 18th green, and I think that's just really exciting.
Yeah, and GAP, I'm sure, is always looking ahead to I know you run so many events and tournaments. I mean, we talked earlier on a previous teed off about the GAP matches and things like that. But as a group, are you always looking to enhance the experience for members as to what can be done to put golfers on a different type of stage?
Well, we're working very hard in terms of both junior golf as well as women's golf and all other aspects of golf in terms of our competitions. This year we'll go from 100 competitions last year to 130 competitions this year. We'll have the junior series in central Pennsylvania, and that's going to be an outstanding opportunity to appeal to juniors. We just created a separate women's series that we put in the locker rooms of all of our member clubs to show the women the number of competitions in which they can participate. So things are doing very, very well in terms of trying to reach out to groups that probably could go ahead and get a little further down the road in terms of their participation in golf. And one more thing, we deserve a lot of credit here in Philadelphia for some of the things in women's amateur golf and women's golf in general. We had in the Philadelphia area at Lancaster the most heavily attended, most successful U.S. Open for women 2 years ago. Last year we had an amazingly successful women's amateur at Rolling Green. This particular part of the country is second to none in terms of the efforts that we're taking to advance what's going on in women's and junior golf.
All right, maybe we'll see some of those participants in those 2 events you mentioned on center stage at Augusta National next year.
I'd like that.
That'd be pretty interesting. Gentlemen, thank you, and we'll be back. More Inside Golf in a moment.
Located in Bluebell, just a short drive from Plymouth Meeting, Bluestone Country Club offers a setting that's close at hand but feels like a world away. Bluestone offers a championship caliber golf course, practice facilities including a large driving range, separate chipping and putting areas, and a staff of PGA professionals. At the Country House at Bluestone, you'll find excellent food, superb service, and an outstanding setting. Their expert staff will assist in planning your next event, whether it's a wedding or simply a luncheon, dinner, or cocktail party. Check out Bluestone's variety of membership options. Much more than a golf course, Bluestone is a community.
The first tee of Greater Philadelphia, where golf is more than a game.
Hey viewers of Inside Golf, have you heard about Jersey Man and Philly Man magazine? Published by ex-Eagles and Philadelphia Stars tight end Ken Dunnick, these magazines offer the very best in content on subjects of interest to men. Writers include Bill Line and George Anastasia. And you can increase your business by attending our monthly private parties as an advertiser. Call 856-912-4007 or email ken@jerseymanmagazine.com for more information.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Golf here at Riverton Country Club, and we're with Kevin Duffy to wrap it up. Kevin, you know, we haven't talked yet so far about the great legacy of golfers that began here at Riverton over the past 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, Riverton has more than 100 years of great golfing history, and some of the best female golfers have come out of Riverton, like Dottie Porter and Ann Laughlin, you know, icons in the women's Philadelphia golf world. And also members like Craig Ammerman, who've served a lot on the Golf Association of Philadelphia board and USGA Executive Committee. So.
Right, and it all began for them, and their legacy continues here at Riverton. Hey, thanks for having us, and good luck. You're almost halfway through the restoration.
Yep.
By this time next year, it'll all be done. Maybe we'll come back and see how it all turns out.
Love to have you.
Thanks for your help. Kevin Duffy, the pro here at Riverton Country Club. I'm Harry Donahue. Remember, no matter how bad it's going for you out there, don't pick up. We'll see you next time right here on Inside Golf.
Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. 54 courses, 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By the First Tee of Philadelphia. The First Tee helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit thefirstteephiladelphia.org. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia, GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man Magazine, it's a Jersey way of life. And by Philly Man Magazine, bringing it to Broad Street. By the Haverford Trust Company. Quality is in our DNA. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia Section PGA, experts in the game and business of golf. Take time to thank your local PGA golf professional.